Y'all are a good-looking crowd. Just saying. I was going to read off something I wrote, but everybody's already said it. We have someone from 77 all the way up to me who just graduated last year. So we're going to wing that one, because that's out of the picture. Well, Mr. Riddick. Oh, Mr. Riddick. I've seen you mad. Bartlett, I got the stare all the time. Whenever he was mad at someone else, he'd be looking at me, talking to this person over here. And he'd be going, do you think you can do this? My freshman year, I was introduced to choir. Well, not really introduced, I was in it, but forced to meet Riddick by my so-loving brother. You remember that day, right? He straight up just walked in and said, here's my brother, and left me in there. Oh, I remember your face too. But although I was forced against my will, that was the best decision someone's ever made for me in my life. Mr. Riddick teaches you so much, and now that we're all here reflecting on it, he makes us a better person in a way. He helped me find who I was in my personality. He helped me find out how I could express myself and not be afraid of what people think. Because if most of y'all have seen me walking around talking the whole time, I'm jumpy. Some people talk when they have a point. Mr. Riddick let me talk till I found that point. I'm struggling right now. Well, I've seen Mr. Riddick take a couple of things seriously. He jumped off a stage. Sarah Barlow was there that day. I don't know who all was there. You were there. He took a 5-foot fall with his music in hand and acted like it was nothing. He just kept walking. And after we all were like, are you okay, Mr. Riddick? He went, I'll be fine. Every day in school, we'd go into, warm-ups are the best. So fun. You would see Mr. Riddick just sitting at his piano, and bell hadn't even rung, and he's going. Oh, warm-ups. It was great. Mr. Riddick made me look back at high school. I've only been gone a year. I work full-time, and he makes me miss what I had in that class. It's like Dr. Cousins said, you have a voice that is important. And sometimes you forget to realize that you are important. No matter what circumstance, you have a voice. You taught us that. You taught us that we can say whatever we need to say, and if it's processed or not, who cares? You said it. But Mr. Riddick taught us perseverance. A-Town back in Orlando my sophomore year, AO. First year, yeah, y'all all got mad at me for saying that, but then everybody was saying it by the end of the trip, so just started it. We didn't know what we were walking into. Y'all remember those practices before we got on the bus. We did not really know our last song. We were sitting there missing, we were flat, we were everywhere, and you gave us the stare. Before we got on the bus, you went, I don't even know if we can get on the bus. No, but Mr. Riddick, you're a great man. Just turn around and look at the crowd. Look how many people you have affected. You got people that are my age right back there. And you got people up here who just remember things from years ago that we're all gonna remember. Because like someone said, it's a ripple effect. I'm gonna be telling my kids when I get older, if they wanna do music, I'm gonna try to teach them the motives of Mr. Riddick. But that ain't gonna be possible, so you're gonna be teaching them. But on a serious note, Mr. Riddick, I would encourage y'all just to think and sit back and think what Mr. Riddick did for y'all, what he means to y'all. And before you leave, just give him a great hug because he really deserves it. 38 years teaching children. That takes talent. But thank y'all for all coming out tonight. It does mean a lot. Thank you to Brooke Newton and who all did the preparing for this. I mean, it looks great. So, Mr. Riddick, you deserve your retirement. You deserve it. So you take it easy.
I did not have Ed as a teacher, as a student, no. I'm going to give a whole new perspective. I don't know if any of you know who I am, but I have known Ed since I moved to Memphis in 1986. I started teaching a year before you. I started teaching in 75 back in Kansas. Taught high school choir for 35 years. I just wasn't as strong as you, Ed. I couldn't do those last three. Just couldn't do it. But I was the choir director at Ridgeway High School for the last 20 years that I taught. I retired 4 years ago. So for all of you Bartlett and Arlington, if you graduated before 2010, I probably judged you somewhere at All West or All State, and I listened to your choirs at Choral Festival for years. Ed and I were good friends. We were friendly rivals is what we were, because I had a kick-ass program too. And Ed always had some of the finest choirs you'll ever hear. And I remember my first job when I moved to Memphis in '86. I had already been teaching 9 years before I moved here. And I was at the armpit of the world, Jana, Chickasaw Middle School, junior high at the time. Don't think Chickasaw Gardens, that's not where it is. It's down on the way to Tunica, just before you get to the Mississippi line. And it was an eye-opening experience. But I went to choral festivals when I was teaching those 3 years, and I heard Bartlett High School, and I go, dang, that's what I need to be doing. And eventually, my principal said, I'm moving to Ridgeway. There's no choir, there's no program, but I want you to come with me. You'll have to start it from scratch. So I went, and I had a wonderful time. Ed and I think we had such a great admiration for one another and respect. Whenever I would hear his choirs, I go, how does he get his girls to sound like that? Such beautiful pitch, beautiful intonation, perfect blend. You never heard anybody stick out. But Ed, I'm glad you mellowed, because the story I have on Ed is, I can remember it was somewhere in the mid-90s maybe. We're up in Nashville at Allstate. I got my flock of kids with me. He's got his flock of kids with him. They are singing 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Anybody go to Allstate? You sing forever, don't you? You sing all morning, you get a little break. You sing all afternoon, you get a little break. You go back for a night rehearsal. And by the time you get to the concert 3 days later, your voices are stripped. I mean, it's like, you know, there's nothing. I'm walking somewhere in the convention center or the hotel. Ed, give it a rest, man. And he had his kids, the Bartlett kids, who were at Allstate, off in some nook and cranny somewhere he can find a stairwell or a place, and he's rehearsing them, and I go, what the heck? Ed, what are you doing? These kids are singing 10 hours a day. Give them a rest. And he goes, well, we're going on a trip in a couple of weeks, and we've got to practice. Wait till Monday when you get home. Give these children a rest. And he goes, just can't do it. I just can't do it. We got to practice. Ed. But that's why you had such great choirs. And to kind of bring this in for a landing. No one has mentioned Deborah. I promise you, people, having known them I know what this man did for 38 years. I did it. I know how hard it is. You pour your heart into those children. You try your hardest to find something to love and like about each one of them, even when it's really hard sometimes to do it. And you never let go. But the only reason Ed was able to do that is because he went home to this woman. And she was always there for him when he had those bad days, and teachers have them. And she would pick up the pieces and say, get back to work tomorrow and keep doing that great job that you do. So thank you, because all of you who are thanking Ed vicariously are thanking this lady right here. Truly, you're welcome. The last thing is, I was very honored, since I'm not teaching high school anymore, and I don't miss it, and you won't either. I had the privilege, was it just last month, was asked to judge the West Tennessee Choral Festival. And I did, and I got to hear his choir just last month from Arlington. And I remember Ed's choirs back in the 80s and the 90s, and they were always wonderful. And I was just like, you go, old man. These kids sound fabulous. They sound, it's hard to get up every day for 38 years and to go make people do what sometimes they really don't want to do. That's the key to great teaching, convincing people that they're better than they really are, and then never letting go. And Ed, you did that. But your choir sounded so good last month, and it's so great. I think I wrote something about, you're just as good as ever. You're not older, you're just better. We're like fine wine, aren't we, Ed? Yeah? But I really have such admiration and respect for you, and always have. When I was new to Tennessee, I had a big mouth. I opened up my mouths at meetings, teacher meetings, and eventually got elected president of it. And Ed was there. He had been there longer, and I would say, Ed, we'd get off in the corner, and he would give me advice. And we always agreed, but I had the big mouth, so I didn't know you were a blinker, Ed. I was this. My students said, you got the brewer look. You got the blink. Oh, you're a good man. Looking over here and listening to you all, you're a very rich man. You're a very rich man. Now, hope you do prepare to, as you retire, to live on half of what you've been making. But you're very rich, and you've left a great legacy, and you are a very special person. And I thank you, James, for asking me to reflect. It's a different perspective, a colleague. He was always very well respected by everyone. And yes, I can remember saying to my students, we got to get more kids in All West than Bartlett. Somebody saved me. Dr. Jordan, congratulations. I hope you live a long time and enjoy it.